All right, guys. Good morning. Today we're going to talk about the next step of your research project, and that is the call to action. So basically, you've identified an issue, you've done research on the issue, you have formed a argument about that issue. Now the question is, what are you going to do about it? That's the questions we're thinking about when you start to put together this call to action and add this to your website. So the basic beginning steps for you guys is to think about, why is this issue a problem? Why is this a controversy in society? So there are four kind of choices to help you think about it. Is this a problem because basic needs are not being met? Is this an issue because of equity, because people are not being treated fairly? Is this an issue because it causes harm? It poses a threat to public health, safety, education, or well-being? Or is this an issue because it's showing the ineffectiveness of something, of current policies or current laws, or maybe the ineffectiveness of the way a government works or the way an institution or organization works? Maybe the laws that are in place are not enforced, or just merely ineffective. So kind of just identifying where you are in your topic in terms of like what exactly is the problem is your first step for thinking about your call to action. So other questions to ask in your group is, okay, so we have this, we've identified that this is a topic that can cause potential harm to people. How can this issue be solved or improved? Okay, what is something that you and your community can do? Or what larger institutions need to be urged that they need to do something about this topic? And urging is doing something. Okay, so keep that in mind. And after you kind of have this idea of how to be able to solve or improve this problem, what are the steps? Okay? How can you actually go about doing it? How can a person or a community cause a change? What exactly do they need to do? And I'm not thinking that we're going to be able to solve all of these big, difficult problems of the world in one project or in your website, but what could you do as a human being, as a group, as an individual, right? What could you do to maybe bring awareness or to show that you really, really care about a topic so much that you want to do something about it? So the next step is kind of some agenda setting. This is going through like the steps that you need to do in order to achieve this call to action. And the big question is, what broad goals do you need to achieve in order to be effective? Do you need to bring the issue to the attention of the public and decision makers? Do you need to influence the adoption of a preferred policy option by educating or lobbying decision makers? Do you need to assure effective implementation of adopted policies? And by policies, I'm kind of being open here. It could be laws, it could be ideas, whatever it is based on your topic. Okay. And then the other thing that you need to think about too is identifying resources and assets to be used in your call to action. And so this is including the number and kind of people who would be available and committed to working on the problem or issues, basically allies. Okay. Can you identify allies, basically? Are there other organizations or interest groups who believe what you believe, and could they be helpful? Should they be named in your kind of action plan for making this call to action as a possible organization that would support you, or elected officials, right? Anybody who shares in common values. So if I was doing a topic on gun control, for example, I probably would be looking for organizations that are against gun violence, that want higher restrictions on who can have a gun, or how you can buy a gun, right? So there's plenty of organizations and interest groups that are for that, and maybe my first step would be to try to contact them directly and see what I can do. Okay. You also should, in your groups, identify likely opponents and as well, and think about how you can manage these opponents' viewpoints. For my gun control option, for example, the NRA would be a huge likely opponent for me, since they are totally pro-gun, and they would definitely be against all other organizations that would be wanting harder or harsher gun restrictions. Um, Think about the financial resources anticipated and currently available. Think about the money. If this is going to cost money, how are you going to get it? Okay. Think about the communication technologies, facilities, and other material resources available. And I think it's good when you are doing this brainstorming and putting your call to action together to make a pro con list with your call to action. What is good about it? What problems may come with acting out this call? So, like the pros, list all the benefits you can think of that would come if people were to follow your call to action. And you should be promoting all these benefits to persuade the reader that it is a great idea that can improve in an issue. So basically, you have to be able to prove that your call to action can be effective if people were to do it. Cons, here list potential setbacks. By listing it, your group can work to resolve some of these cons, making your call to action even stronger. So if your initial con, for example, is like, how are we going to be able to provide some sort of financial backing for this idea, right? Then thinking about ways that you can maybe get some like monetary help would be a way that you would prove that your call to action can still work and that you're working through it. If there's a con that is inevitable, however, you should acknowledge it, but think with your group how you could argue that your call to action is still beneficial. So still have some sort of counter, even though, there's going to be inevitable cons that sometimes you can't answer all of the time. Basically, keep it feasible, be creative. Think about how you would actually do it yourself. And maybe go the extra mile and actually start doing it to prove it can be done. Here are some ideas. And you can take your own. And these are just very, very basic, and you would have to really kind of flesh these out in your groups. So number one, you could do a letter writing campaign to a politician, organization, local residents, or newspaper. Number two, arrange meetings. These can be community involvement meetings. These can be public forums. These can be a TED Talk. This can be a presentation that you would do at a school, at Prez, right? Like all those things. So arrange some sort of meeting or presentation or something like that. You could do a petition drive, create a petition to support a proposed new way of looking at things, and be able to kind of like target that petition to someone who can actually bring about change. Ballot drive, get a policy change on a ballot so people can vote. Okay. So how would you write a policy change? How would you get people to basically sign a petition to get something on a ballot for everybody to vote? So that could be a really good option. Engage the media. Could you somehow put together a press conference? Can you contact the local news? Can you utilize social media in a detailed plan? Social media is a great place where people protest all of the time. How can you use it to your advantage? You would need to really kind of think about it and show me step by step for that. You could also do public demonstrations, organize a protest. Okay, so these are just some ideas, and these are not all the ideas that you can possibly have. But if you're really stuck, you can start looking at these and maybe start kind of brainstorming with your group about one. So my example, if you guys remember my thesis statement that I had for you guys from last time. And this was that whole thing about modern cinematic techniques and looser rating systems have allowed filmmakers to get more graphic horror flicks. Horror flicks have desensitized young American viewers to violence. This translates to a lack of emotional reactivity and diminished empathy in real world situations. Okay, so that was my whole thesis basically about like graphic violence leading to kids being desensitized. And this blue part, this is my call to action and something that should be part of your thesis as well. Therefore, concerned moviegoers should appeal to the Motion Picture Association of America in order to change the outdated movie rating system. So I probably would do a petition drive for mine. And I need to devote a page on my website outlining my plan. And so some sort of petition drive that engages social media. I probably need to do some research and show this research on the website, right? So I need some sort of page that has an action plan, a call to action, and a way that I'm going to do it. And I'm probably going to need to search, like, make sure I know exactly what the MPAA is. Okay. And I want to kind of look at movie ratings and how they are developed. If I haven't done that yet in my initial research, I might want to do that now because I want to ultimately prove and be able to argue that the rating system is an outdated system and therefore there should be some change. So I have to write that kind of like petition proposal and make sure that I show that I am knowledgeable about this subject. So that is basically what we're doing here, okay? Your goal for today is to develop, number one, work with your group to develop a call to action and, to figure out how you guys in your group are going to function together. Are you going to be on conference call the entire day or entire class period? Hopefully not the entire day. Are you going to, are you going to kind of divide up work? Are you going to doc and everybody writes stuff? Figure it out. Okay. So work with your group to develop a call to action, plan it out, provide steps and anticipate problems and opposition for your plan and try to work through it and exhibit. Think about how all this will look on your website and further, and possibly if you have time for today, keep on working on constructing that website. Okay. That's pretty much what you'll be doing today. Okay. Is going to be really getting into this call to action. If you still need to do research, if you still need to evaluate, if you're still working on your thesis, all of those previous steps, you're working on that too today as well. Okay. Today I'm going to start some checking in for groups. So I plan on visiting 3 for this class and then 3 for the next class. I'll let you guys know in the comments if I haven't already, which groups I'm going to visit. So that way those 3 groups can stay on the conference call. And if the other 3 groups want to do something differently, they can. Okay. So that's kind of what I'll be doing, is doing some check-in, and you can ask me any questions that you have about your project so far, anything. Okay. I will listen and hear you and see what you guys are coming up with. Okay. And, other than that, I will see you all next class. We don't have a break like we've been doing. We're going to be formally going on to WebEx, and we're going to talk a little bit more about building your website and how that should look. Alrighty. So that's it. Get to it, guys.